Welcome to the Garage Grit Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Herlock of AA Shop Marketing. Our hope is to unite shop owners to tackle common stress points and challenges that they're experiencing within the auto repair shop space. Our mission is to guide you towards the best solutions for your shop. So tune in, join the conversation, and let's move your business forward. I'm Brad Herlock, your host of the Garage Grit Podcast. And we've got a great panel today, shop owners from Washington, North Dakota, and Michigan. The topic today is trade shows or conferences, industry-specific conferences, and the benefit that they have for shop owners for growth and for development, personal development, as well as shop development. Without further ado, I went from west to east when I mentioned the different shop locations. Why don't we go from east to west? Kory, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your shop. Tell us about your background and who you are. Go ahead.
I'm Kory Rozema. I own Rozema's Car Care in Hudsonville, Michigan. I'm a second generation owner. The business was started in 1974. My wife and I bought the business Memorial Weekend of 2016. We went from 4 bays. Now we're up to 10 with the additions. And we just recently added a satellite location like a quarter mile up the street. We also just got into ADAS calibrations first of the year. So I have myself, 2 advisors, a shop manager, and 6 techs.
With ADAS, that's an extremely technical area of expertise. That's not recommended for most shops because the amount of setup that you have to do to get the place just right to actually adhere to all the standards of all the different manufacturers intense.
In all reality, at this point, it's not incredibly profitable because we're not doing 20 or 30 calibrations a week. At the end of every year, I ask my guys, okay, what tooling do we need? What do we need for the shop? Basic tooling. And in the end of 22, they were like, we want to do ADAS calibrations. So I'm like, okay. Then I had been looking into it and realized how much space is actually required.
Yeah.
So the equipment is not cheap, but the space is more costly than anything else. So I'm like, okay, we'll look into it, but I got to find a building first. So when the building came up, the end of 23, I'm like, this is exactly what we're going to do. I spent November and December prepping the building, getting the floors and the walls cleaned and painted like they're supposed to. And yeah, so I think I literally have 200 hours of just my own work, getting the floors and walls and stuff like that prepped. Right. And then the actual finish, like that's really easy. Like I think me and my father-in-law and my mother-in-law did that in 2 days, but it's like lab room white. It's so white. Like it hurts the eyes, so white. But it made an old dingy building look really nice. Half the building's used for that, and the other half has a couple bays and a couple of guys down there.
Well, we might have to invite you back on another topic because I keep hearing that regularly that different shops are trying to add ADAS. And I know of shops that have basically spun off separate businesses, even though it's at a similar location. Because the marketing for it's a little bit different. You're not trying to market to family owners necessarily. It's beyond their comprehension that you actually need to calibrate the way you need to calibrate.
Yeah, 100%. It's all business to business for the most part. Most car owners or vehicle owners, they have no idea. Yeah. Most ones I've talked to, most of them don't even like it. The lane keep assist and it's correcting their steering and get off my lawn kind of attitude towards ADAS stuff. But ours is a separate LLC, so it's not under the Rozema's Car Care label, just because of the liability that's involved. So it's a separate, it's called West Michigan ADAS. So when we do it, that tech technically gets leased to West Michigan ADAS, and Rozema's Car Care gets paid for that. And we sublet within the business. So if we do like a person to person, they don't really notice any difference. But the business to business aspect of it, they'll get a bill from Rozema's Car Care, then they'll get a bill from West Michigan ADAS. And it just is, it's really clean that way.
Yeah. And I didn't know about you as far as the second generation piece of it. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to the prior podcast from last month, but it was all about taking over the shop from the prior generation. And this is a common thing in this space. And it's one of the things that I love about the auto repair shop industry is how much family is tied to it.
It's almost you owning a job until you get ready to retire, and then you sell it to a chain or you just shut the doors.
Right.
I wasn't honestly planning on taking over the business. I was a tech at an Acura dealer and had a good job, had a good life, made a good income, but the opportunity arose. And I'd love to tell that story sometime. I could probably occupy the whole hour by doing it, but it just worked out really well.
Good. Tell us about you. Tell us about the shop. Tell us about your experience, about the shop size.
Yeah, my name is Korbel. I'm from Elite Automotive Center, and we're in Fargo, North Dakota. A little bit about the shop. I actually came in 4 months after it was founded by my brother-in-law here in Fargo. He had dealership experience and then branched out and started this back in April of 2013. His original business partner was involved for about 4 months. And then in August, that was my father's help. We bought him out, and then that's where I came into the mix. So this September, next month here, I have been with the business for 11 years. Never even shaded my oil, but I think that actually helped me be on the opposite side of the counter, just because I can see it and try to explain it in the best way a customer that has my same knowledge can understand it as well. I came with a very strong background in customer service, being adaptive, learning, technological stuff like that I added into the business. Just a quick background on me. I grew up in southern Minnesota. I'm 36. I got a beautiful wife and 2 young daughters at home, with a third on the way at the end of September. They're my why and everything. And I actually got into the business just to help out my brother-in-law. My sister hit the lottery with marrying up with him, so wanted to just help out with him and this new venture that he was on. As far as Elite, great location here, a new one. We were in another location. The landlord had sold that property to a discount tire, so we were able to get in another building, better location, in my opinion. This current location, it's a 6-bay with a 15,000 pound 2-lift and an alignment rack and 2 little bays. We've got 3 rockstar technicians, and then Andrea and Zach on the front counter for customer service and office staff.
Interesting. I'm curious, was there were the goals different? And that's why he was ready to, or she was ready to part ways, and why you're nodding your head?
He was also the previous business partner's father had actually owned the property in the gas station next door to where the shop's location was. And so he brought Brian on to start renting out that building, partnered with him there. And then he did get very busy with managing that gas station in the second location. I don't know if he just didn't have the time or he didn't like the actual industry or exactly the reasoning, but yeah, the opportunity arose and I was in between jobs. Just moved to Fargo recently. And then that's when Brian and my sister reached out. Would you like to help out? And yeah, I've been learning ever since.
Yeah, no, I think about that a lot, because I know that from my own experience that detailing the direction of the company, detailing a plan for how to implement the shop and those types of things, especially when you have business partners, it makes sure that you're all aligned before things get ugly or before things get started. All right, Troy, take a turn. You're all the way out there on the West Coast. Good morning to you.
Morning. I'm Troy Vanity, Graham Auto Repair. I definitely would have, if I would have known no backdrop I couldn't use, I would have not had my messy home office. But I started in the industry when I was 17. I worked my way up and bought the company I worked for in 06. I knew quickly in 08 that I needed help. Obviously, people smarter than myself, so I joined ATI. I've been there ever since. And 16, I built a brand new shop close to where my original location is. And then 2 years ago, I bought another shop, demolished half of it and rebuilt it. So one shop has 9 bays, 6 techs, 2 advisors and a manager. The other one has 7 bays, 2 deep, with 2 advisors, a CSR, and a manager. Okay. So yeah, we've been definitely busy. I've learned a lot about going from 1 shop to 2 shops, where all my deficiencies were. So I'm working on that 2 years in.
And how long did you say you were with ATI?
Since 2012, February 12th.
A good segue into the topic today. Again, trade shows and expos and conferences. I see the numbers at these various conferences, and I think it's a small fraction of how many repair shops are actually out there. And so there's a lot of repair shops that aren't bothering or aren't deciding that this is important enough to spend the money to go to these things. And so I wanted to hear from you guys as far as the value that you enjoyed or benefited from, or what you saw, good and bad. What were the ups and what were the downsides to some of these conferences? And I believe each one of you has a slightly different subset of conferences or trade shows that you've attended. Mm-hmm. Troy, you're saying ATI. You've been to the ATI Super Conference at some point?
All of them but one.
Okay. And this next one, I believe, is in Hawaii.
Yep.
That's less of a commitment for you than it would be for someone on the East Coast. Yeah. But nonetheless, what can you tell us a little bit about the ATI Super Conference?
super beneficial. It's not just a company, it's life, health. I've seen it change people's lives where friends of mine have totally changed their lives for sure. About how they spend family time. The speakers are amazing. So can't really explain it until you go. I try to tell everybody to go. A
When I
lot
see
there.
the slots about those conferences and the ads and the promotional pieces, it appears to have a lot of family or health or fun element to it. Like I think there's a charity run that they do on a regular basis. It's a wider perspective than just here is how you sell more dollars. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely.
And you said you missed one. Was that the most recent one, or did you? Was it?
No, in 16 when I was building that first building. That's the only time I've missed one.
When was this past conference?
It's in March every year.
It was in March. And where was it?
It was Texas. It was at the Gaylord.
Were there particular classes and breakout sessions? Okay.
Yes, absolutely. There's round tables. There's speakers. You can sign up for different round tables. You have lots to choose from. Whatever interests you and your shop, where you're at, your growth, scaling, from every sort of different, just depending on where you're at, labor parts, whatever.
Hey, Troy, is that only owner training or is it tech training too?
It's more owner training.
Okay.
Some shops bring their managers and stuff. So I would say, yeah, definitely. It's owner training,
Okay.
management.
Do you have to be a member of ATI to go to that?
I'm curious. They probably have large group sessions as well. And so I'm curious as if you had to pinpoint one or two, no more than two, things that were takeaways from this past conference. And you could just be like, you know what? The charity run was actually intense this year. It doesn't have to be specific to, we're talking about the whole perspective when it comes to the ATI Super Conference. So what big things did you walk away? What stuck?
I think Brian Dodge spoke again, just about always, a lot of Brian Dodge's integrity, family. He's just an excellent speaker. We've had him twice in all the years I went. So he's definitely one of the better speakers I've ever seen. Really, that helps you be a better person and think about what you do in business. And the charity run was fun. It was hot, but it was fun.
In Texas, is it just a 5K?
Yeah.
All right, Philip, you're chuckling.
If I had to, I'd put my mind to it, but I'm not going to bet money on it or commit to running the whole thing.
It's a frustrating point because I used to be able to run 5Ks like that, but you're talking about like high school years, right? And I was able to do it in under 15 minutes, no big deal. And now,
Wow.
Far back
minutes. There. So, right. Age happens, right? All right. So those were the 2 points that you want to take away. Kory and Philip, have you ever attended? Kory, based on your questions, you're not a member of ATI.
I'm not.
And so you have not attended. And Philip, I don't believe you're either a member of ATI. Is that right?
I am not. No, I have attended their, I think it was called Cash for Profit Boot Camp or something. It was way back, probably a year or two after we had actually formed the company. It was a huge credit to them. I think it was a paid for workshop or maybe it could have been free training as well. I learned about it from either Shop Owner Magazine or Ratchet or Wrench. Cash Profit Boot Camps, for some reason, sticks in my mind. That's the name
fine.
of it was, but it helped us tremendously because there is so much information in automotive repair and then alone how to actually operate a repair shop and then balance all of that as far as all the technical information out there. You can be an amazing service advisor or an amazing technician. That doesn't guarantee or make sure you're going to be an amazing business owner. So that's, I think, where a lot of us, myself personally, struggled with. And so learning about Cash for Profit Bootcamp was a tremendous help to us back then because we actually learned about what the parts matrix was back then and how to actually do it ethically though too as well. So that way you're competitive, but you don't know what you don't know. And for us, we never even heard about a parts matrix. We literally, if you had a pen, I have one handy, visual representation, pen is $1. You add it 20% on a calculator and that was the markup to the customer for the first, I want to say 7 months, 8 months, until it was like, you're looking at your P&Ls and you're like, okay, how do we get paid now? And so that was one aspect that helped. We didn't join afterwards ATI with that. I didn't realize they put on the conference like that. So that's good to hear too from Troy. I don't know what's 5K, but
Hey, it was 40 minutes and jogging. It wasn't no whatever Brad did.
optional run.
And don't get me wrong, I can't do that now, not even close, right? It's 40 minutes is probably about right.
It's a good aspect to have part of it. It's not just about running a business. Yeah. Sometimes it's literally running.
But Philip, you also attended most recently, the Shop Hackers in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Tell us about
I speak with limited knowledge on the other ones. I'm aware of Vision, APAC, Napa Expo does a wonderful job too. I haven't been to those ones yet. I've only had experience with the ATI, Catholic Profit Bootcamp, and then Shop Fix's Shop Hackers, which was just here at the beginning of August in Nashville, Tennessee. Amazing in my opinion. I'm biased just because I am a Shop Fix member since 2017. That was the right fit for us. My best advice on any of the coaching companies out there, find the right fit for you. It makes a world of difference. There are some people they might not work with, but at the same time, there's probably one out there that you can learn something from. Even if you've been in this business for 20, 30 years, it's ever changing. And so Shop Hackers is open to anybody. You don't have to be a Shop Fix member. It's over the weekend. Normally it's the beginning of August. And obviously there's a fee for it just because they do bring in a lot of value as far as this year. I think there was over 1,800 people there. I do want to attend the other ones as well, like Vision or if ATI was open to other shop owners. That'd be something that I'd be interested in just to get different perspectives, meet different people. All of it, in my opinion, is beneficial. Even doing a podcast like this with you, it was great. First original meeting. I was upfront and honest that we might not be able to work together as far as businesses right now, but it's nice to see different perspectives and hear something that you might be missing, or you're so close to the chalkboard, you're blind to it, or you're so into the weeds at writing service or repairing cars that you get blindsided. So Shop Hackers is a very good conference in my opinion. Like
you said, it's a good time because it seems very, and don't get me wrong, you can have a good time learning, but it seems like it comes across as very education based, right? Whereas the promotional for the website for the ATI Super Conference, it talks, as Troy mentioned, about this broad, your entire life is the picture. Shop Hackers seems very focused on, advisor training 101, that kind of a thing.
So more specialized training. There's that available too. I would say along the same things as what Troy was saying with Shop Hackers is more ownership based. There's management or foremans that are in attendance or up and coming service advisors or technicians, vice versa, but it is geared more towards the shop owner. One of the biggest things that I can take away from Shop Fix is fix the owner, you fix the shop. In my opinion, any business in the world, not just automotive repair, it starts at the top, trickles down. So if that first person of the pyramid or whatever you call it, however the hierarchy is in the business, that's not right, it's a good chance nothing below that's going to be right. So you can learn all the day about schematics, parts matrices, all that kind of stuff. But if I'm not a good husband or a good leader with my children or my community, it's going to be hard to try and duplicate that or fake that in the business. So that was one of my biggest takeaways from Shop Hackers and Shop Fix in general. It's being leadership in your community, at your shop, in your business, in the marriage, any partnership that is.
Kory, have you attended Shop Hackers?
I have not. I've spoken with probably dozens of people that were there this past summer. And yeah, I haven't heard a single negative thing about it. Outsider looking in, if I didn't know anything about it, it comes off as raw, pump it up, the thing. You guys can do this. If you're failing now, we'll help you get over the hump. And I listen to their podcast pretty regularly too.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a really good fit for a lot of people.
It's interesting. You mentioned that from all the people that you've talked to. So you're connected to a large network of other shop owners.
Yeah. I mean,
what is that? Is that an informal network on friends that you've made over the years on different things? Or is that?
I guess it all started when I went to Vision last February, early March. I had all these Facebook friends that I had met through this Facebook page or that Facebook page. So it's like, I feel like we're best friends, even though we've never actually shaken hands. Okay. And so you finally get to go and meet them in person. And I brought, what did I bring? I think I just brought 2 of my staff members with me, 1 tech, 1 advisor, and myself. And then, it's ownership training. Vision is ownership training, advisor training, and technical training. But then you take all these people that I met on Facebook, and then you take all the people that Allie met on Facebook and all the people Luke met on Facebook, and you just form a super informal but incredibly large group chat on Facebook. So then grows into you're in Texas, like we're going to be pretty different, but have a lot of the same problems.
Yeah.
So then I brought a lot of that ideas back to West Michigan and started like a West Michigan shop owners group where, again, like anybody can come in. You just have to be a shop owner. And we've been getting together, I'm trying to think, since December. So 9 months now.
And that's really interesting because in some of those, you are at that point breaking bread or however you guys, if you eat food or whatnot over there, you are doing that with your competitors, your direct competitors potentially.
I think there's plenty of cars to go around.
Right.
Yeah, I guess
Good
there's a shop right up the street, whatever. It's just like expanding your congregation, making it a little bit larger. Rather than looking at it as a competition, like a couple of people were like, are you all about price fixing? We're like, no, that's not what it's about. Making sure everybody's on the same page. What Phil was saying, like the morals and the ethics part of the business, the industry as a whole from day one, truthful or not, has a pretty crummy reputation. And tell every employee pretty regularly, and for sure, probably 50 times during the interviewing and onboarding process, that it's our responsibility to fix that every single day. And when a shop up the street does something that, even if the customer thinks it's a little bit sketchy, it completely undoes everything we did.
Right.
So
and a lot of times the sketchy is, it's not always the case, but a lot of times sketchy is just lack of understanding.
Yeah. And it's just like whatever. Shop owner A or advisor B just didn't communicate well.
You had a pretty interesting video on your YouTube channel where it was a ground wire issue. And that sounds like a quick, easy 30-second change. But the majority of the video was trying to figure out that it was a ground wire for the starter. And so I found that interesting. But that's that transparency that you're trying to explain, because that owner of that Hummer could walk away and say, well, they charged me this dollars. And all they did was they reconnected a wire.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And that was funny because that was a Ford F-150, actually, not a.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah. Either way, I forgot that was even on there, but we sent that link to the customer after the fact. And that's the coolest thing that I've ever seen. Right. And it wasn't like this amazing video. Joel's a great kid or a great guy. Excuse me. I'm 45. I figure anybody younger than me, I address as a kid. So,
at least under, I'm sorry, I don't know how old you are, Philip, but anyone under 30 at least is a kid. So.
I'm in the cool club. All right.
Yeah. So it is what it is, but just things like that. And we don't do a ton of them. Like we're trying to get into it, but I think it's 100% about networking, and networking in a positive manner, where even if you see something another shop did that maybe wasn't correct, or in your mind, like, maybe they did hack it together, rather than calling up, hey, John Smith, your customer, and tell him, yeah, that shop did this or this wrong. Call them. Call the shop. That's the idea, developing these relationships I had this exact conversation with the shop owner yesterday. If you draw a 5-mile circle around my shop, there's 28 repair facilities and probably 300 or 400 bays of auto repair. It's just like a crazy hotbed for auto repair. So like these customers have tons of choices. And unfortunately, there are still people who will be like, oh, Kory's a hack, just because they want the money, because I know it's not true. Say whatever you want. I have 300 plus Google reviews and almost 300 Carfax reviews and a customer base 5,000 deep. And whether they like me or not, like I'm not always on the top of their list of people they want to talk to. Like they go out in their garage and they're like, oh, yay, my car doesn't start. That doesn't normally happen. But it's just trying to be as transparent as possible about the process that it's going to take to get their car back on the road.
Right. People often forget that paying for diagnosis it's important. You need to. That's the majority of the work today, trying to figure out why.
It's cheaper in most cases.
Back to the conferences. Did you walked into this networking feel or approach because you were at a Vision conference, and then you were Facebook friends with a bunch of people, and then you actually got to meet them in person, and then you stayed in touch with group chat, and now you started your own local networking environment. Okay. Did Vision actually give you that vision? Is that corny to say it that way?
No, I think
was just an
really
inspired thing, or did they actually, is that a class that they were telling you about?
No, I think it just came to me in one of the classes. We had informally put something together prior to it, but it was really more hey, let's all be shop owners and come together and have a couple beers and just complain about life. Afterwards, it was be much more purposeful about it. Because Phil said our time is pretty valuable. Like I'm taking time away from my wife and away from my kids because it's in the evening.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go there and just complain because if it's just going to be negative, like I don't want to do it.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But
all right. Other than Vision, what other shows or conferences have you attended?
So I send my staff to ASTE as well in North Carolina. I'll probably never go to that one just for the one sole purpose is it falls right on my anniversary date every single year. So it is what it is. I see all the same people at Vision. They give me a hard time for not being there. And I'm just like, I'll hand the phone to my wife and I'll let her respond.
Still married.
Yeah.
Man.
But I think like those two are the ones that we focus on. So like half this year, I'm sending 4 people to each, 4 people to Vision and 4 people to ASTE for management training, advisor training, and technical training. Again, it's all networking. You learn a ton. Like the instructors are fantastic on the technical side of it. They're amazing on the advisor side of it, the ownership side of it. I don't know I've ever attended any ownership class really anywhere that you don't get something out of. But when techs can have a challenging vehicle and they can throw it out on their own little Facebook group chat of people that they've met, and I know that they're doing this. And I got a Subaru that's doing that somewhere, and somebody in Arizona is like, oh, I saw that before. Check this. It's by no means like silver bullet stuff, but it really enhances their ability and their confidence to test things as opposed to guess on things.
And so you're sending a lot of your technicians, not just yourself. Troy, you've got a whole team of people there as well, 2 different locations. What are you sending them away to some of these conferences as well?
Yeah, we have something called ATE. It's Northwest Auto Care Alliance in our area. So yeah, Belt by Shop, we close down both of them and send everybody to, it's a 2-day technical, anything for technicians, advisors, managers. Yeah, people from across the nation come to it. It's huge. So yeah, every year we do that. I think it's important. It's expensive, but it's important.
And that's why you're not sending them to Hawaii.
That's right. That'd be super expensive.
What other
run the 5K first?
Troy?
Got to earn that one.
Yeah. There you go.
Texas heat.
Troy, what other conferences have you attended?
The Napa one that was last year before in Vegas.
Okay.
And then the super conferences every year. I've not been to a Vision. I know people that have.
Tell us about the Napa Expo.
I thought it was just as great. They had great speakers. They had bigger headliners for music for sure. So yeah.
Was that the one? Was it Marcus Luttrell?
Man, I know Keith Urban was there. Yeah, I don't remember who else. That was just the biggest headliner that I could remember. But it was similar to AT. It was definitely way bigger because I don't know how many attended the Napa convention. But it's the same sort of style. You'd sign up for classes and then big speakers come to the big open arena style.
I saw that. I think Dave Ramsey spoke at Shop Hackers last year. I think that was the case. I thought that was pretty sharp. I thought that was pretty on point. But I often forget about the fun aspect. You were saying about the musicians that were performing as well. What other conferences have those types of? So ATI has a little bit of that holistic and fun approach, and so Napa Expo does. Are there other ones that you guys are familiar with? Does Vision, Kory? Does Vision have?
Vision has a comedy night. They start out though Expo with this year it was Ed Milet, who I had never heard of before that.
What?
But no, yeah, I'm not into most of those like self-help things, but I don't think that's even the case because now I listen to his podcast pretty regularly as well. But
yeah,
he was like the opening act. And then every morning, like during breakfast, they have a kind of something similar to this. They'll have a couple of advisors, a couple of owners, and a couple of techs from around the country. And it's a prearranged interview kind of a deal. And then they have during lunch hour, they have like a motivational / comedy thing to just keep everybody entertained for a little while. While they're all walking in and out. It's cafeteria style entertainment and dinners at the same time. ASTE has very similar things. They have a women's dinner. They have like a group dinner. that's a little bit more like kind of fancy. They have a comedy night thing, I think, as well. They have a casino night. Again, like I didn't get to go to that, so I'm not 100% aware of what all they do. I just give the guys my credit card and I use your judgment. most of it's all like prearranged. So from the minute they get on the airplane in Grand Rapids, Michigan, till the minute they get back, like almost every minute of it is occupied. Whether it's dinners and comedy nights or casino nights or whatever. Not that they don't have free time, but if you want to be very schedule oriented, like they really advocate for that.
So I guess the fun part is why, I guess in my mind, part of me says all of this information that you're learning at these conferences, all of this information is available online. It's available somewhere. Someone has actually given this speech and recorded it and posted it to YouTube or Spotify or whatever the case might be. And so can we talk a little bit about the benefit of actually being there?
I think
getting the information.
I think when somebody says something, whether instructor, motivational speaker, or whatever, says something and you're watching it online or you're listening to it on a podcast, you can't be next to the person and see them react or be like, oh, hey, I tried that at my shop and it worked amazing. And then they can be like, oh, really? And now it's cool. Let's talk about that at lunchtime, or let's go have a beer after this and we'll talk more about that. And then you're going to find 3 more people that have that same question. And then he's going to find 3 more people that have that same question. Now, all of a sudden, instead of a beer with your one person, there's a group of 9 people that are all informally talking about that exact thing. And they all are going to have different opinions and different experiences.
That's interesting. Philip, you're nodding your head. You want to tackle or add to this?
Totally agree. That was well put. And even back to Kory, what you were saying about a vision with the networking.
Yeah.
That's part of it, attending it live versus watching videos on stuff like that. And for myself personally, it depends on my learning style too. And I can see with like technician training, like if it's a in-person class versus a online tutorial, it's a totally different outcome from my experience. Actually going to dinners with and getting beers with some of the fellow shop owners or whoever else is there, or seeing that speaker in person, I related to either going to church or a concert, or who has watched last year's fireworks recording on your phone? Nobody. But when you're there live, it's a totally different experience, in my opinion, from what I've experienced.
Yeah. And you meet these instructors and these speakers and you realize they're Facebook or they're YouTube famous or whatever. But at the end of the day, they all have the same issues that you have.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to know a fair amount of them. Not very many, but enough. And, like Rick White was coming to West Michigan and I knew about that. So I said, hey, you want to come and talk to my shop owners group? And he's like, sure, I'm going to be there anyway. Rick White's a coaching guy, super great guy. I know a bunch of people that use him as their business coach. We had another, I wish I could remember the name of this other person.
Is Rick White part of an organization?
He owns Rick White. It's 180 Biz Coaching.
Okay.
That's his deal. He lives in Virginia, I think, but he coaches nationwide. He coaches one in my buddy's shop here in West Michigan as well. But yeah, he came out and we had 50 shop owners show up for a completely free night of his training because he was going to be there anyway.
All through networking.
Yeah. So it is. It's all just, hey, Rick. And they're like, what are you doing for fun? He's like, I'm going to go on vacation in West Michigan. I'm like, oh, cool. You want to come to Zealand? He's sure. How much is it going to be? We're going to be there anyway. So I'll do it for free. I just need a projector and a screen.
Nice.
And dinner.
I'm sorry. I'm not from the Michigan area, so I don't think of West Michigan as a vacation spot. That's actually what caught my attention there. Wasn't that Rick did it for free. Was that he went to West Michigan for vacation. Help me out. What's going on there?
We're a peninsula, especially West Michigan. We have Lake Michigan.
Yeah. So it's just a lakefront. Okay.
It's not just, it's like an ocean. It surrounds our whole state between that and Lake Huron. We have people from Chicago going from the border all the way up to the bridge. It's all nice, perfect sand. And I'm 15 minutes from it year round. So it's fantastic.
Is Mackinac Island close by there, Kory?
Mackinac Island is like the northernmost part of the lower peninsula.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's literally an island that's right in between the upper peninsula and the lower peninsula.
Okay.
So it's like a 4-hour drive from here.
Doable. Popular vacation spot, Brent.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's hotels and stuff like that. You can't drive on the island.
No, it's beautiful.
So it's really cool.
I've seen it. I've not been there yet.
Yeah. It's really cool. There's horses and there's still cannons from
That's why I knew about it. There was one stallion in the U.S. and it was allowed on that island. Even though they're very restrictive on any horse-drawn carriage, the stallion was able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm learning.
But part of the other networking thing is, I don't know if you guys know who Becky Witt is.
Yeah.
You know, that's another networking thing.
I think in her Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's like shop manager, shop owner extraordinaire. And I knew that she was taking a little hiatus on her way to ASTE at the end of September. So she's coming to West Michigan also to do a class. And we'll probably have, 40, 50 people for that too. And again, it was just like asking. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. Like we have to pay for her travel expenses because obviously going Kansas City to North Carolina via Michigan is not in the way or on the way. 2 nights of hotel and some gas. And when you have 13 shop owners to pay for it or 14 shop owners, it's well worth it.
Easy. We're talking about the networking benefits of attending these. Troy, have you had the same type of windfalls when it comes to networking specifically?
Oh, absolutely. It's hard to relate to a shop owner. So you're surrounded by, in our case, 600 shop owners. So it's easy to find every bar, every place, every fire pit. There's shop owners talking and networking about what's going on in their shop, what their struggles are, talking through it. So it's a huge part of it. You just meet a lot of great people for sure.
And are you staying in touch with them after the event?
Oh yeah, some for sure. Yep. You definitely meet friends for life, whether it's in your 20 groups or whoever, but yeah, you definitely meet a lot of new people and different aspects.
Nice. What other reasons are to attend in person as opposed to just trying to get and glean the information digitally? Troy, you have any other thoughts on that?
I like ours has a trade show every year too, and that's huge. I go see what's the newest, latest, greatest in every single software to CRM to everything. So I just walk around and see what everybody's got to offer. So that's great too. Stay up on the fastest, most efficient programs.
Okay.
And then too,
you
can
also
chat with the
just
vendors
ATI
like Troy
specifically for.
Sorry.
What's that?
Troy, the trade show, is it ATI trade show or is that something else that you were talking about?
Yeah, it's ATI, but ATA has it. And I know also the DAPA, and I'm not sure about the other ones, but everyone I've done.
Vision and ASTE have those as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Philip, what were you saying?
Just what Troy was saying about learning about that latest and greatest. You're right there, so you can actually chat with them. Or if you're a current user, I was currently using Kakui and they were at Shop Hackers. And so I was able to actually discuss stuff with them. And it's more of a one-on-one setting versus I'll submit the support case and hopefully you email me back someday.
That makes sense. All right. We've touched on a handful of different shows, but I feel like there's so many others that we haven't touched on. Are there any on your radar that you've heard of that you haven't yet attended that you're going to be thinking about or just trying to learn more about?
Apex. I've never been there. I'd like to go there. SEMA. I've never been there. I'd like to go there.
Now, SEMA, do they actually they look just like a trade show. They don't look like they're much of a training
training
type thing.
Oh yeah, there is training there. You just have to seek it out. For whatever reason, they don't advertise that part of it at all.
Okay, got it. So Apex, SEMA, what else? Philip, Troy, what other ones are on your distant radar?
Kind of the same with what Kory was saying. Definitely want to check out Vision. I've heard great little things about that as far as the training and aspect of it as well. That's one thing that's really nice about it is that you can get specialized training as well there. So always an opportunity to learn it. It's not just for shop owners. There's technical training to actually attend as well.
And I think knowing you can advertise in your help wanted ads that, hey, we send people to these places.
Yeah.
And if you if you're a tech that I don't want to do training, that's pretty much that's the end of the interview for me. But because it's not only it's expected, but it's required. You're on the clock from the minute you leave. Basically, the flight takes off until you're back on the ground. So it's not like you're doing all of this stuff and not getting paid. So it's
you're touching on a topic that's been touched on a couple times here on this podcast in past months about building culture and about how that plays into recruiting or even retaining top talent in the industry. It's that you've got to create this framework. And a couple of times we've talked about how some of the most senior ATECs, some of them are just like, no, I already know. I don't want to learn. And you've got to have that culture where you're always learning. There's always something new. And ADAS is the extreme, Kory. There's plenty of things that even the most senior tech needs to keep learning because the cars keep changing.
Yeah. And if you're an ATEC and you don't want to do training, I guess if you want to use that label, then you're not going to have that label for very long.
Yeah.
If you're going to max out at whatever, 30 or 40 bucks an hour, then you're capped at that point. Like you got to go to training.
Okay. All right. Troy, do we hear from you as far as what other trade shows and conferences are on your distant radar?
Just Vision. I know a lot of people go into Vision, so that's the only other one. I'll do Napa when they do that again.
All right. This has been good. I think we've covered a bunch of different things from various topics of the various events that are out there. And I feel if we took our time and did some internet searching, we could probably find another dozen more from various coaching companies that are hosting them or marketing companies that are hosting their own. And so it'll be interesting to see will they get as much market share as some of the ones that we talked about today going forward. But
Auto Value has a really small one right here in Grand Rapids. It's one day, like starts at 8:00 in the morning, goes to 5:00 at night and it's done. So it's pretty centralized. West Michigan, maybe you'll drive as far as like Lansing, a couple of hours, but not many people come from out of state. The training is pretty good. The trade show there is really great, but it's all happening at the same time. So if you're there to take a training class, you're probably not going to have time to go to the trade show. Or if you're there for the trade show, you're probably not going to have time to do the training. Like, again,
it could be like a 2-day class or, wow, that's cool.
I mean, I guess technically, yeah, it starts on like Friday night, but then it's done Saturday afternoon.
No, I meant like they should almost split it into a 2-day.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah, they should go in my mind like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday or something like that. Yeah. I think that they would get more people and like we have the hotel space for it. Again, it's not my budget. I'm not in charge of that. I just make recommendations from a mile away and see what they listen to.
Event planning is a large task.
Yeah, and nothing I want to be involved in.
No, there's a lot of moving parts.
You can go. Yep.
Yeah.
That's another thing too. So if they're done well like that, they have to be successful. There's so many different moving parts or things that can go wrong. So that's what makes you appreciate ones that are good. It flows, or if they have the entertainment, you're not going there to see a comedian or a band. However, that does play into it. So it's nice having that structure to it. And that does take a lot of coordination. So kudos to all the people that do put them on around the country and pull them off to great success because it's well deserved.
Yeah, well said.
It's interesting though, that the smaller local. Philip and Troy, do you have anything that you're aware of that are closer to you in proximity and much smaller in scope?
Just like their pro show. And then Ratchet Wrench, I believe. I'm not sure. I think it's just the Ratchet Wrench conference out of Minneapolis, I believe. It's Twin Cities area. I think that's where the company's based out of. I haven't been to that one yet, but that's only a 3.5 hour drive, depending on speed.
Okay. All right. Kory or Troy, have you heard of Ratchet Wrench conference specifically?
Yeah. I know lots of people.
I forgot about it.
Yep.
Yeah. There's that. And then there's Tools is in Pennsylvania at sometime in the fall, I think. I'd like to go to that sometime. There's a whole list of them. I think you could probably go to one a week if you wanted to.
Yeah. Gotta work sometime.
Yeah. Sure.
Gotta work sometime. That's right. I'm sorry, Troy. Did you say that you also are familiar with the Ratchet Wrench conference? Have you attended or you plan on attending?
I haven't. I probably will eventually attend because I know lots of people go to that too. Between that and Vision are the most popular ones I've heard of.
So is it the same group of people that are attending all of these?
Pretty much. I mean, as far as I'm aware, there's probably, 20% of non-overlap. But I feel like when you're at Vision, you're at ASTE, you're seeing the same shops, the same shop owners. There might be new techs or new advisors, but it's the same group. And they do their best to recruit people in. I can't speak to the other ones, but I know like Vision and ASTE, like if you want to go and you can't afford it as a shop owner, like they will do their best to figure it out within reason. Like they're not going to spend $100,000 sending people there, but they may be like, okay, this shop is going to buy airline tickets. This shop is going to put you up in a hotel, and this shop is going to buy your admission ticket. So I know they've done that for 3 or 4 shops every single year.
I've seen that, and it's amazing. Some of that stuff that they pick up, those shops that can't afford to go, the stuff that they do pick up on is life-changing. And so that's what it's about. It's the networking. It's helping your fellow shop owner, not dragging them down to try and help out all of our industry's reputation. It's not just about our specific shops. And then back to Kory's point about 10 years, Brad, about the same shops going to all these different ones. In my opinion, it's what makes the top shops in America is continuing to learn to implement these things. I don't know if I know one shop in America that's just naturally gifted at all this stuff. If they are, they're an anomaly. I'd love to meet them because, from what I've seen, like the top shops, they do attend conferences to learn about the latest and greatest, like Troy was saying. If it was their vendors, the tool they implement at their business to get a better customer experience, training, that's where a lot of these people are learning about this stuff. You could Google search top 5 things for an automotive shop, and that's what you're going to get is an AI generated top search.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But you might not trust it or hear it from my friend Kory. He was just vision and he thinks that this is great. So there's more twist of a buying in that aspect.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought of another one. It's called ATI, and that's in San Diego, I think, California every year. And that is actually put on by the OEM manufacturers. And then they come out and they basically just talk to aftermarket tool manufacturers, aftermarket shop owners, all of this stuff. So it's a lot of, you're getting exposed to OEM engineers and stuff like that. And the new tooling coming out right directly from the OEMs. And you have an opportunity to look at that and to learn about that. And I'm pretty sure I might be wrong about the opportunity to purchase some of those things like right from there versus having to go to a third party distributor and stuff like that. That's when it's on my list. Like I'm really going to try to go to that one in 2025.
And I'm sorry, when did you say that was?
I'm not 100% sure on the date. It's somewhere between Vision and ASTE. So it's somewhere between February and September. Not an awesome timeline, but you can look it up on like the ASOG Facebook page or Changing the Industry Facebook page, and it'll pop up just like that. And I think that is more like owner driven than it is anything else. Just because I think they want to make sure that they're talking to some people with purchasing power kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So that's my interpretation or impression of it anyway. I might be wrong.
Got it. Okay, good. Troy, had you heard about that one? That's a little bit closer to you than some of the other ones that we've been talking about.
No, I've never heard of that one.
Okay. The people in your 20 group, are they across the country or are they more Pacific Northwest?
Both my 20, I'm in 2 20 groups. But yeah, they're all across the country from Texas to Virginia to California. Both of them are spread out.
You're in 2 different 20 groups.
Yep. A lot of traveling.
Okay. I think we covered a bunch of different topics. I think we covered a bunch of different reasons to attend. I think the biggest thing that jumped out at me was actually the networking piece. It's not just that you're learning valuable information, but then when you've learned it, you can then go and discuss it with peers in right after the fact, as opposed to when you're having that conversation over the beer, so to speak, or whatnot, or around the fireplace or around the campfire. It's different than a Facebook message that gets replied to 6 hours later, right? There's still a time and place for the digital communication, but there's something to be said about the face-to-face when you can actually be right next to them. So I can appreciate that. I think we should start to wrap up here. Are there any final thoughts or any closing things that you want to share about the different conferences? Troy, you want to lead us off?
I think it's just as important as for me. Most important for me is I had a coach for 13 years at 20 groups. And I think the conference is just as important. It's just a tool in your toolbox to continue to improve.
Philip, what about you?
Well said, Troy. Totally agree with what you just stated there. And same thing, gets you out of your comfort zone. That's part of the experience. Or maybe for me, with how I learned, that's part of it as well. It's puts yourself out there and actually to learn those things. So that's what does require for leadership. And even like to speak on what Kory was saying about training with ATEX and to what I said about as far as leadership, if we're not attending these things, it's hard for me to hold other people accountable or expect that of them if I'm not trying to do that myself. And the last thing, I've learned this years ago, but education without action is entertainment. So that's the biggest thing then too, about with the 2020 group or going back and having a network of great friends that are going to lift you up, give you their stories of wins and losses. That's huge. Education without action is just entertainment.
Nice. Kory, want to close this out?
That's a tough one to follow. I think that's a really challenging one. I think that it's going to be much easier to retain and attract good talent because good talent wants to get better.
Yeah.
And knowing that your shop provides that and pays you for it and make sure everything is taken care of while you're gone, I think that you're naturally going to have a little bit larger talent pool to draw from. As challenging as it is to find a good tech, I think that when you're willing to spend the money and they know you're willing to spend the money, like you can't really lose.
Fair enough. All right. Thank each of you for taking the time to share this with each other as well as with all the listeners about conferences and which ones we should attend and which ones we should be looking out for. And it sounds like I didn't hear negatives on any of them. So it sounds pick one that fits you and go check it out if you haven't already. And if you have the capacity, add to another one. And if you don't have the capacity, reach out to some conferences or to your network or grow the network so that you can get help, so that you can get yourself at these places. All right. Kory, actually, it's outside of the podcast, but since I have you here, I'm going to actually ask you the rotors where you were actually doing the curls. Like what was it? Like someone tagged you for, because I'm actually tempted to go to my local shop and just borrow some rotors and see if I can do it for a full minute. So I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but on his Facebook page, he had a full minute of people doing. Kory, talk about that real quick.
So we started doing these things, these little Facebook videos on Wednesdays. Oh man, I think we literally started like just before COVID hit, where it's just, we put them on our like a local informed Facebook pages and it's just us doing goofy things. I think the very first thing we did was like me. And at that time there was me and 2 techs only. And we did like a sprinting race up and down the driveway of my shop. We've used the jacks as scooters and raced them around the parking lot. We've done battery presses where you're like doing this motion with battery.
Creative. It's awesome.
That man hangs like on the lift where you're just like hanging from the lift like that. Anything that we can come up with that's just weird. Both my boys play lacrosse and one of my newest GS kid plays lacrosse. So we did, I don't know, like one of the guys threw something and he was trying to catch it with a lacrosse stick, paper airplanes, quarter tosses, played like drinking games like flippy cup and beer pong, just whatever we can come up with. We try to keep them under a minute or two. Sometimes they go way longer, just get ridiculously out of hand. But yeah, that was one. We really put no thought into it at all. It's okay. We're going to go live and you have 15 seconds to come up with something.
Right.
And
I feel like you mentioned 2 different shop owners, one in the beginning and one at the end, as if they had done it and they wanted to challenge you to it. Did I catch that correct?
One, oh, you know what? That one I got challenged by a buddy of mine, Elijah. He's north of me, to do the curl one because he was a one-man shop. He just hired an intern. And his intern is like, I've never met this kid, but he's watched our Facebook videos and I think I can beat him at that. Yeah. Like it was this 19-year-old kid who I never met before through his boss challenged us to the curls. Then I don't remember who I challenged after the fact, but I don't honestly even remember if they did anything about it. We've done that in the past where we're just like, hey, I'm going to challenge this guy or this shop. And
that's awesome.
The idea is
talk to me about the views. Talk to me about the customer pushback or the customer reception of those
customers
types of
think
fun.
It's awesome. I said our customers think it's awesome. Our viewers have gone down a ton. We normally will get like maybe 1,000 views a week or something like that. During COVID, we were getting like 40,000 views a week. And I don't know that we really get a ton out of it other than just like keeping our name in the forefront of people's minds. Everybody goes to Facebook to complain about stuff. And this is just like, hey, 90 seconds is stupid. And everybody then realizes like, hey, we're regular, normal people, just like everybody else. It's not, we don't have superpowers and we're not criminals and crooks either. But it's a blast. We used to be pretty religious doing it every single Wednesday. And we just keep growing and keep getting busier where we forget and things like we try to do a couple a month. Anyway, right now.
Philip and Troy, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciated the time that you've put in. Thanks for that. I think that people are going to be listening to this and realize that, okay, maybe I do need to attend one more conference or a conference to begin with and realize that
just doing it the way they've been doing it isn't actually going to be working for them, and that they actually need to grow. Kory, I like the way you said it you need to actually constantly be developing, or you're going to be, plateauing out real quick. And we were talking about ATEX at the time, but I think that applies to shop owners as well. 100%. I'm glad that we were able to join us here on the Garage Grit podcast. I'm Brad Herlock, your host, and I'm looking forward to the next podcast as well. And I'm looking for everyone joining in.